Lena's day had started like any other. The same soft buzz of hairdryers, the familiar scent of shampoo and hairspray, the same loop of pop songs playing faintly from the salon speakers. The Golden Shears was one of those polished, mid-tier salons that promised luxury but thrived on routine. Every day, Lena trimmed, colored, and styled the same type of clients: chatty mothers, busy professionals, teenagers looking for transformation. It paid the bills, but it didn't fill her heart anymore. She had once dreamed of opening her own small studio, one where people came not just to look better, but to feel seen. But dreams like that had faded under rent payments and a boss who cared more about profits than people. It was early afternoon when the bell above the door jingled softly. Lena looked up from sweeping the floor. A man stood hesitantly at the entrance, clutching a faded baseball cap in both hands. His jacket was too thin for the weather, his boots scuffed and old. His gray hair stuck out unevenly from under the cap, and his face bore that weary kindness that only comes from years of both hardship and quiet pride. "Can I help you, sir?" she asked, setting the broom aside. He took a step forward, clearing his throat awkwardly. Yes, ma'am. I was wondering how much a basic haircut costs." His voice was steady but soft, like he was already bracing for the answer. Lena told him the price, $25. He nodded slowly, glancing down at his hands. "That's fair," he murmured. "I just haven't had one in a while. Figured it was time to tidy up a bit." Something in his tone made Lena's chest tighten. He wasn't haggling. He wasn't asking for a discount. He was simply deciding whether a haircut was a luxury he could live without. And in his eyes, she saw the silent math of someone counting dollars meant for groceries or bus fare. She smiled gently. "Why don't you have a seat?" she said, gesturing to the empty chair. He hesitated. "I should probably come back next week," he said quickly. "Just need to." "No," Lena interrupted softly. "Sit down. You've waited long enough." He blinked in surprise, uncertain. But something in her voice, calm, kind, certain, made him obey. Slowly, he lowered himself into the chair, placing his cap in his lap. She draped the cape around him, catching a faint scent of tobacco and rain. "So," she said, combing through his hair, "what are we doing today?" "Just short. Doesn't have to be fancy," he chuckled. "Used to get it buzzed every few weeks back in the army, but that was, well, a long time ago." Lena smiled in the mirror. "Army, huh?" He nodded. "Vietnam. Long time back. Been on my own mostly since then." He said it without complaint, just as fact. "It's funny. When I was young, I used to think haircuts didn't matter. But when you're down, it's the little things that remind you you're still human, you know." Lena's hands stilled for just a second. That line, "remind you you're still human," echoed inside her. She thought about all the times she'd felt invisible herself. The long days when her boss barely acknowledged her effort, when clients treated her like a machine, when she smiled through exhaustion because that's what was expected. She resumed cutting, each snip of the scissors slow and careful. She took her time shaping his hair, trimming the uneven edges, cleaning up his neckline. She even used the good clippers, the ones her boss said were for paying customers only. The man kept trying to make small talk, but she could sense the nervousness under his words. He probably felt guilty for taking up her time. When she finished, she brushed the loose hair from his shoulders and turned the chair so he could face the mirror. For a moment, he didn't speak. He just stared at his reflection, blinking. "You look sharp," Lena said lightly. "Ready to take on the world again." He smiled. Not wide, but deep, the kind of smile that carried years of gratitude. He reached for his wallet, pulling out a few crumpled bills. "Thank you, miss. I can pay." Lena gently pushed his hand back. "Don't worry about it," she said. "Consider it a thank you, for your service." The man froze. "No, I can't." "You can," she interrupted with a smile. "And you already did enough." His throat worked, and for a second, Lena thought he might cry. Instead, he stood up, adjusting his jacket. "People don't do things like this anymore," he whispered. "Some still do," she replied quietly. He placed his cap back on, cleaner now against his trimmed hair. At the door, he paused, looking back at her. "You made an old soldier feel like someone today. Thank you." When the door closed behind him, Lena felt an unfamiliar warmth spread through her chest, the kind that came not from pride, but from purpose. She had done something right, something kind, something real. She didn't notice the salon camera blinking red in the corner, quietly recording everything. The morning after the free haircut, the salon felt different. Maybe it was the quiet, the kind that hangs heavy before a storm. Lena came in early, as always, humming to herself while she set up her station. The scent of coffee lingered from the break room, mingling with the faint aroma of conditioner. She was replaying yesterday in her mind, that moment when the veteran had looked in the mirror with tears in his eyes. It had felt right. She hadn't done it for praise or pity. Just kindness, plain and simple. By the time her coworkers trickled in, she could already sense the tension. People avoided eye contact. The receptionist, Amanda, who usually greeted her with a chirpy, "Morning," barely nodded. Lena frowned. Maybe it was just the Monday blues. But when she caught the faint whispers, her name, the words, video, boss, and freebie, her stomach tightened. At exactly 9 o'clock, the glass door swung open hard enough to rattle the frame. Mr. Kerrigan, the owner of Golden Shears, strode in with the storm written all over his face. He was a tall man, always perfectly groomed, gray suit, slicked back hair, the kind of cologne that screamed authority. He never raised his voice unless money was involved. Today, his voice was practically trembling with fury. "Lena," he barked, before she could even greet him. "My office, now." Every head in the salon turned toward her. Her scissors froze mid-air. She put them down slowly, wiped her hands on her apron, and followed him down the narrow hallway to his small glass-walled office. The door shut behind her with a soft click. Kerrigan didn't sit. He spun his computer monitor toward her and hit play. There she was, on screen, cutting the veteran's hair, smiling kindly, refusing his money. The camera's angle made it feel distant, impersonal, like watching someone else's life. "You know what this is?" he demanded. Lena blinked. "It's me, yesterday. With a client." "Not a client," he snapped. "A man you didn't charge. A man you gave a free haircut to." He leaned across the desk, his eyes sharp. "Do you have any idea what that means?" Lena stared at him, trying to stay calm. "It means I did something kind. He's a veteran. He couldn't afford." "It means," Kerrigan interrupted, slamming his palm on the desk, "you stole from this business." She took a step back. "Stole? Are you serious?" "It was one haircut." "One haircut," he repeated with mock sweetness. "That's $25. Multiply that by 100 stylists doing whatever they feel like, and suddenly I've got a failing business." Lena felt heat rise in her chest. "You're not losing a business, you're losing your humanity," she muttered. "What was that?" His voice went cold. She met his glare. "You heard me. He didn't ask for a freebie. I offered it. It was the right thing to do." Kerrigan laughed. A sharp, humorless sound. "The right thing to do. The right thing is following policy. We are not a charity. We are a luxury salon. People come here to pay for service. You think you're a hero because you gave one away." Lena didn't trust herself to speak. Her hands were trembling, but not from fear, from anger. Kerrigan straightened his tie, his tone suddenly clipped and calm. "Effective immediately, you're terminated. Clean out your station." The words landed like a slap. "You're firing me, over a haircut." He didn't even blink. "Over theft," he corrected. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." For a moment, Lena thought about arguing, pleading, explaining how ridiculous it was. But she saw his expression, cold, unmoved, and knew it wouldn't matter. People like Kerrigan didn't care about stories. They cared about control. She walked out of the office in silence, every pair of eyes following her. Amanda looked down at her desk, pretending to type. One of the junior stylists whispered, "I'm so sorry," as Lena passed. At her station, she packed slowly. Scissors, combs, brushes, the few personal things she kept tucked in the drawer. A photo of her and her late father, an old coffee mug with faded gold lettering that said "Be kind anyway." When she reached for her coat, her phone buzzed. A notification popped up. A message from Amanda. Someone posted the video. Lena froze. Her hands went cold. She opened the link. It was already circulating on a local Facebook group. Hairdresser gives free haircut to homeless veteran, gets fired. The comments were exploding. What kind of business fires someone for that? This woman deserves a medal, not punishment. Does anyone know her name? Let's help her out. Her heart pounded. She hadn't wanted attention, but now her small act of kindness had escaped the walls of that sterile salon and was spreading through town like wildfire. As she stepped outside, the cold air hit her face. She looked up at the salon sign, golden shears gleaming under the morning sun, and felt no regret. Inside, Kerrigan could keep his rules and his spotless floors. She'd kept something better, her conscience. Still, as she walked to her car, a hollow ache grew in her chest. She had rent due, bills piling up, no backup plan. Kindness didn't pay for groceries. But somewhere deep inside, she felt something stirring, a whisper that maybe, just maybe, the world hadn't finished with her yet. She didn't know that within 24 hours, her life was about to change again, and this time, for the better. The next morning, Lena didn't want to get out of bed. The light through her window was too bright, the world outside too loud. Her phone had been buzzing non-stop since dawn. Messages, notifications, calls from numbers she didn't recognize. She finally rolled over and silenced it, staring at the ceiling. The events of the past 24 hours felt surreal. Yesterday, she'd been a hairstylist with a steady job. Today, she was unemployed, and apparently, the subject of a viral story. When she finally gathered the courage to check her messages, there were dozens waiting for her. Friends she hadn't spoken to in years were sending links to the same article. Hairdresser fired for giving free haircut to veteran, town outraged. Her name was in it, her face, even a photo of the veteran smiling in her chair. The post had been shared thousands of times. There were hashtags now. #StandWithLena, #KindnessIsNotACrime. It should have made her feel proud, but, instead, her stomach twisted. The attention scared her. She hadn't done it to make a point, she'd just wanted to help one person. But now everyone seemed to have an opinion, and she wasn't sure she wanted to hear any of them. By mid-morning, there was a knock on her door. She froze. No one ever came by unannounced. Peeking through the peephole, she saw two figures, one older man in a neat navy coat, and beside him, the veteran from the salon, holding the same cap in his hands. Lena's heart skipped. She opened the door halfway, unsure. "Mr. Daniels," he smiled, a little shyly. "That's me. Hope you don't mind the visit. Brought someone who wanted to meet you." The older man stepped forward. He had kind eyes and the composed air of someone used to being listened to. "Miss Lena," he said warmly, "I'm Mayor Collins." Lena blinked. "The mayor?" "That's right," he said, his smile widening. "I saw your story last night. Half the town did, actually. Seems you've made quite the impression." She hesitated, tugging her sweater tighter around herself. "I didn't mean to make anything of it. I just gave him a haircut." "That's exactly why people care," the mayor replied. "You did something simple, but you did it when no one else would. And I think we could use a little more of that in this town." He reached into his coat pocket and handed her a folded letter with the city seal. Her fingers trembled as she took it. "I wanted to give you this in person," he said. "It's an offer. The city council approved funding for a small community salon, a place where veterans, seniors, and folks struggling to get back on their feet can come for free haircuts. We were going to start looking for someone to run it next month. But after hearing your story, I think we've already found the right person." Lena just stared at him, her mind blank. "You want me to run it? If you're willing," he said gently. "We'll handle the space and the supplies. You'd be in charge, hire your own team, set your own schedule. Make it the kind of place you believe in." Her eyes burned with sudden tears. "I don't even know what to say." "Mr. Daniels," the veteran, chuckled softly. "Say yes, kid. You've already got your first customer." That broke her. A laugh burst out through her tears, shaky but real. She pressed a hand to her mouth, trying to compose herself. "I can't believe this," she whispered. "Yesterday I got fired, and now you're being hired," the mayor said, his tone kind but firm. "By the people who actually matter." The veteran nodded. "Told you, didn't I? People still do good things." Lena invited them in for coffee, still in disbelief. They sat around her small kitchen table, talking about ideas, a space that felt welcoming, maybe with coffee and music, maybe even a day each week where stylists volunteered their time. The mayor listened intently, taking notes, while the veteran shared stories of his old army buddies who could use a place like that. As they left an hour later, Lena stood at the doorway, watching them walk down the path. The autumn wind stirred the leaves around her feet. For the first time in months, she didn't feel small. She didn't feel like an employee waiting for permission to do the right thing. When her phone buzzed again, it was another message, this time from a reporter asking for a follow-up interview. She smiled and set the phone aside. Let the world talk if it wanted to. She had work to do. Real work, the kind that mattered. She turned back into her apartment, already picturing the new salon in her mind. A cheerful place filled with laughter, clippers buzzing, the smell of fresh coffee and clean hair. A place where no one would ever be turned away for not having enough. As she imagined hanging a small sign above the door, "Kindness Cuts," Lena realized something that made her heart swell. Sometimes, when life closes one door, it's because a better one's already knocking. And all you have to do is open it.